Hey guys, Malpro here, and I'm here to make a cube video. I've been loving the arena cube, and I thought, hey, I should make a video on it. I did write an article for playingmtg.com, go check it out. But here, this is just my favorite deck I've drafted so far. I've just been recording my drafts for the purpose of being able to record a video about it when I want to. So I'll just play this as it goes, and I'll talk about what I was thinking when I was making the picks. So, we're here. I pressed recording after the first pick. First pick was Jugen Defends the Temple. Fine card, not amazing or anything, but still pretty good. It was over not much. It was over like a lightning strike. So just a medium red aggro card. I decided to go for the more powerful card. And you can see here, I have already highlighted Llanowar as an awesome pickup after starting with a green 3-drop. Llanowar is one of my top green commons. So yeah, you can see, I'm taking this Llanowar. This pack is actually not terrible, but it's not amazing either. It does have really good card, Banalish, Knight Counselor, the best white 1-drop in the format, just super powerful. And if I had taken a white card pack one, I definitely would have taken the Knight Counselor, but I'd rather stay in green for now. Kaya, good 5-drop Planeswalker, but nowhere near where I want to be after first taking Jugen Defends the Temple. And Simian Simulacrum is good, but I need to wait and see whether I'm aggro or ramp first. Other considerations you could make, you could convince me to take a Dragon Skull Summit if you really think red and black aggro are the best decks in the format, but I like just taking Llanowar here. This next pack is a little mopey, not a ton. It's honestly not the best pack. Esper Sentinel's pretty fine. It's also a top white 1-drop, not as good as Knight Counselor, but it's still pretty good. The other considerations here are Thoughtseize and Guardian Idol, but Guardian Idol is risky because if I don't end up ramp, it's kind of bad. For a moment, I consider taking this Carplusion Force because I do really like red-green, but I have no reason to be red yet, so I'll just take this Esper Sentinel as the best card in the pack for now. Alright, so this next pack, I'm looking and I'm seeing 2 cards. I see Settle the Wilds and I see Lion Sash. Lion Sash is the better card if I'm going to solidify myself in white and try to play green with aggro. Settle the Wilds might just be the best green ramp card in the format. So, really hard decision here, to be honest. So yeah, I take this Settle the Wilds, and then I'm here and I'm thinking, wow, Rekindling Phoenix is by far the best card in this pack. Just pretty busted card. It's just this big flyer that dominates the battlefield, and it's just annoying to kill. It demands an exile removal spell, or a 2-for-1. So pretty easy pick there. And here, I'm thinking, okay, mono red might be open, but I just have these good green cards. I don't really want to give up. I'm saying, okay, I'm probably green-red. I'm gonna put Esper Sentinel and Settle the Wilds to the side as I can probably end up playing white, but I might play this green ramp. Incubation Druid, pretty easy, not missing much, just a few lands. And I'm thinking, okay, this looks like a pretty deep, actually, not an okay, it's a good start to a green ramp deck. You have Llanowar, two of the, better 3-mana ramp spells that scale late game, and you also just have a Mana Dork, 2 mana, which is totally acceptable. Rekindling Phoenix is nice mid-game as a way to bridge the gap between your ramp spells and your big top end. Here is interesting pick. I take Kamana Faces Kakazan thinking, also, again, just by far the best card in the pack. Angelic Fire Ignition is good, but I'm not necessarily white. And I'm thinking, okay, if I end up green-red aggro, Kamano is so good. Here, not much, but I'm just going to take this Jetmir's Garden thinking, okay, I'll solidify my mana, open myself up to taking the more powerful cards later on, and just feel okay playing double red Rekindling Phoenix in my Llanowar Elf deck, which can get a little sketchy, to be honest, if you don't have enough dual lands. Okay, so this next pack here, and I'm just seeing, wow, Topiary Stomper Wheel. That means no one is playing Green Ramp, and I'm just like, ooh, I haven't really gone to play a good green big ramp deck yet, and I would love to play it. Yeah, I see it's open, which is pretty rare, so I'm excited. Though I do have to give up this Kumano Faces Kakazan if I want to play it. Here, this pack is medium. Glorious Sunrise is just so bad. It doesn't affect the board on its own. You need to have other creatures out, just not the type of card I like. And I see this Carplusion Force Wheel, and I'm really happy. I have some good green ramp cards. I also could start as green red aggro, and I have 2 dual lands. Like, starting with 2 dual lands in your deck, it just means you have so much flexibility in taking these double pip cards like Topiary Stomper and Rekindling Phoenix. At this point, I'm still thinking, okay, probably will end up green red aggro, but I do have this back out to just playing these ramp cards if I hit the right cards. I see this Wolf of Haven, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably green ramp. Unless I open like an Embercleave, I'm playing green ramp. Here, not much. This Jukai Liberator's fine. It's not amazing in a ramp deck. I would play it in a green aggro deck, but I'm definitely not sure I'm playing these red aggro cards anymore. Though, I'm playing this Rekindling Phoenix if I'm playing red, for sure. Just as one of the best red cards in the format. Okay, so this pack. It's pretty medium. But I just take this Rootbound Craig thinking, okay, I think I'll probably wield this Tangled Florhedron. No one took either Topiary Stomper or Woeful Haven, so probably no one wants this Tangled Florhedron. And I'm thinking, Fires of Invention could be kind of cool in my green-red ramp deck. I don't really like Storm the Festival. It's just, it requires too many 5-drops, and you just don't want that many 5-drops, and there aren't that many good ones. Elven Old Oddity is definitely much more of an aggro card than a ramp card. At least, I think. I end up taking Tangled Florhedron instead of the dual land, just like, okay, the Carplusion Force wield, which really means I'm really likely to wheel the dual land. And again here, I take the Cold Steel Heart out of the dual land, thinking I'll wheel the dual land. But now here, this pack is, again, pretty mediocre. I think Riveteer's Requisitioner is good in red aggro and pretty underrated in red aggro. But I'm definitely looking to be a ramp deck, so I take this Forsaken Crossroads, thinking, okay, more fixing, man. 3 duels. And here, I'm so happy here. Titan of Industry is definitely the best card to ramp into in these big green ramp decks. And I found it. So now I'm just trying to look for like 3 or 4 more payoffs. I'm also looking for like 2 or 3 more ramp cards, but I'm mostly there already. It's hard to pass the Seasoned Pyromancer, but the Titan of Industry is actually better in my deck, just with how much ramp I have. This pack, actually, surprisingly, Siege Gang Commander ended up being great in the games. It's not a card you expect to be that great, but just flooding the board and then being able to kill all your opponent's small creatures is really powerful. And I'm thinking, I have enough dual lands to play it, especially because I have fixing in Cold Steel Heart, Incubation Druid, Topiary Stomper. Even Settle the Wilds can sometimes get red lands. Okay, this pack. I see this Alana in lane, I'm like, immediately, I want this card. It's, I think, really underrated. The card is just so powerful. If your opponent doesn't remove it within like 2 turns, like, you just have these like, two huge creatures plus the Helana and Elena as this threat that's just going to keep growing your board every turn. You don't even need to pump the Helana and Elena for it to be good. Just putting two counters somewhere and giving something haste every turn just pushes a lot of damage and means your board's going to be the biggest board out there. And yeah. Alright, this pack, Vivian on the Hunt is a pretty good top end card. Not on the same level as like Titan of Industry and Cityscape Leveler, but it is good. Like, I'll still definitely play it. You can just make a 4/4 for a bunch of turns in a row. Sometimes you can sack something to get your bigger payoff. Sometimes you'll plus to get some creatures, but mostly it's just a 4/4 machine, which is still like good enough when you're casting it on turn 4. This pack is a miss, though I might end up playing the Bonder's Enclave. I look at this Eidolon, but I'm too far off of Mono Red right now. I'm looking for Bonder's Enclave. I have Rekindling Phoenix, Titan, and Vivian, so not terrible. This pack is pretty bad. I don't think Storm the Festival is playable. I don't think 3-mana removal spells in Fight with Fire are playable, so whiff of a pack, but that's okay for now. Okay, this pack is pretty fine. I might end up playing this Fiery Impulse, depends on if I get other removal. I don't, like, it's nice to just have these few removal spells, there, just in case I don't find more and I just need a little bit more interaction. Shigeki is pretty nice. It's a good top end card. If you grind, your Titan of Industry dies, you get to buy it back. And it's also just not that bad to play on turn 2, and find a turn to dump 2 mana into it later in the game. So right now, I'm looking at this deck and I'm thinking, what do I want? Well, not anything in this pack at least, but I would like one more red dual land if I'm going to try to play these double red cards, but not necessary. I would like one more top end card. I'm like hoping for exactly Cityscape Leveler as the best one after Titan. And I would like a little bit of better removal, like a Strangle or a Lightning Bolt, or what's it called? The Voracious Hydra, just so I don't immediately die if my opponent plays something like a Blade Historian against me. I'm not playing either of these cards. I'm too far off of Obosh. I've a lot of good 2-drops. But that's fine. This pack went pretty well for us. We picked up the Helana and Elena, and a few other cards, but not nearly as good as the first pack, to say the least. So I'm looking for a good third pack to close it out. So this is Galagreeters versus Rockfall Vale, but I just want to hit playables. I need a lot of playables here. I'm currently sitting on 15 cards I want to play, so I am looking to get a bunch of cards I want to play in this deck, and I'm super happy when I see this Asika's Chariot. Just one of the best, like I said, I think it's the number 2 card in the cube, and I think it drops off a lot. It's just so hard to beat a turn 4 Asika's Chariot. It's just so powerful, and like your opponent, like, it's so bad if they trade with it, because then you come out with 3 cats. It's just so hard to deal with it. Or even a turn 3 Asika's Chariot from one of your ramp creatures. So for me, it's Great Henge versus Voracious Hydra right here. And I'm counting how many creatures I have that actually significantly reduce the cost of Great Henge. I realize it's not actually enough for me to take it yet. Maybe I'll pick it up on the wheel. I'll take this Voracious Hydra for now. Like I said, it's good top end and it's good interaction. It's just the kind of card I want to finish out this deck. Defiler of Vigor, I like this card a lot in specifically like heavy green decks, because you need this to be you need the a +1/+1 counter ability to be triggering pretty much every time you cast a spell. But it's when you have a deck that fits Defiler of Vigor, it's a really powerful card, just making your team huge. It reminds me a little bit of a Helena and Elena. Alright, this pack I think is a pretty easy Vivian Arcbow Ranger. None of these other cards are really playable. There's Ornithopter Paradise, but I don't particularly need the ramp right now. I'm looking for a little bit more top end, because I'm worried, like, if I don't draw my Titan of Industry, or my, if I just don't draw my Titan of Industry, I might not have enough, gas to get there. But I realize I'm okay. I have, Helena Elena and Defiler and the backside of Jugen just means I can go big, when needed. So, I'm pretty happy with my deck right now. Like I said, I do need some playables. I have 4 lands that I'm looking to play. Foundry Groundbreaker is actually pretty nice. Definitely an underrated card. It's a ramp card. It's definitely, I'm gonna compare it to Solemn Simulacrum, but it's definitely a lot better than it. Because it has a bigger body, and the ramp is actually powerful because it can act kind of like Nasika's Chariot, where it creates these 2/2/2s, even if, if it dies, because the Mishra's Foundries, when you have this much ramp, you'll be able to activate them a lot. This pack is pretty interesting, but I think it's a pretty easy pathway. I'm not looking for a 2-mana red card, when I'm probably only playing 1 or 2 red basics right now. I don't really have the support for fight rigging, and I'm just happy with a little bit more fixing. And I do have a few okay cards in my sideboard, so even if I don't 100% get there on playables, I'll be okay. I'm happy. This Titania's Command is pretty nice. I'm looking, like I said, I was looking for more top end. It is overrated, but it's because you don't want to just play it in your random mid-range deck. But when you're playing this big ramp deck and you can just buff up all your mana dorks, it can be pretty nice. Here, it's Tenacious Pup versus Mishra's Command for me. And I realize actually I don't have that many things I care about putting a +1/+1 counter on in the early game, and I'd rather have this big X spell that can kill a big creature, which I am lacking. I plan for games to go long, and if my opponent plays something like a Titan of Industry, I don't really have a way to deal with it. I'm happy to see this Scavenging Ooze. I'm not particularly weak against aggro, but it's always nice to have a little bit more security when playing versus aggro, and that's what Scavenging Ooze can do. This pack is a whiff. I don't think Might Stone and Weak Stone is particularly playable, and I don't want to play this Rich Car's Expertise, but I'm thinking I need, maybe after I finish my draft, I'll see, and I might consider playing it if I don't have enough top end. I'm counting my fixing, and I don't actually have enough blue to play the Magma Opus, but that's fine. So this deck here, it's pretty straightforward. There's only one cut. Let's see. So the Siege Chain Commander is an okay cut. It's not. I don't really want to cut it. I consider cutting a land because I have so much ramp. I also consider cutting Galley Greeters because I don't have that many creatures. And I also consider cutting Jukai Liberator just because I'm not an aggro deck, and it can be pretty mediocre when playing versus something like a control deck, and it's just it can get stonewalled, and My deck is not really built to use massive creatures to get through. So I decided I really don't want to play Jukai Liberator, and I finally come to the conclusion that, like, okay, I'll play Siege Gang Commander, and I put it back in my deck. I'll see you in the games. Alright, time for game 1. And this hand is pretty darn good. I can go turn 1 Land Orals into turn 2 Topiary Stomper, turn 3 dump out 2 more of these ramp creatures, and I just need to draw payoff. And there we go, Halana and Elena, that 4 mana ramp payoff. I mean, if the game goes long, this Halana and Elena will probably win me the game, unless it gets removed. I play Topiary Stomper to be mana efficient. Next turn I can play Cold Steel Heart plus Incubation Druid. I get a force thinking I will put the Cold Steel Heart on red. If the Cold Steel Heart gets blown up, I'd rather have 2 greens than 2 reds, because I haven't drawn any of my double red cards yet. My opponent doesn't play anything on turn 2, then plays turn 3 Phyrexian Missionary, which makes me think they top decked it. Looks like they're playing a white-black mid-range deck, and I draw this Titan of Industry, and I'm like, okay, this Titan of Industry will win this game if I, against this white-black mid-range deck. And I realize, actually, if I play out these 2 ramp cards instead of Halana and Elena, I might play Titan next turn if I draw a land. If I draw a land, I play Titan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My opponent plays Kaito Shizuki, which is pretty nice. Turns out they're Esper, which means counterspells can be scary against my ramp payoffs. And I draw the land, and I actually do consider for a long time whether to play Halana and Elena or Titan of Industry. Halana and Elena has this upside of getting to put counters on Incubation Druid, but I think I made the right call in playing Titan of Industry, just because it gets so much material on the board, creates this huge board presence. I'll play Halana and Elena next turn to buff up and attack for a bunch of damage. So I make the 4/4 for sure, and then I think it's a shield counter. I don't need to gain the life, and there's nothing to destroy. I don't want to put the counter on the Titan, because maybe I'll attack, they'll just block, remove the shield counter, then kill it. So I'd rather have this 4/4 protected from something like a language, or not a language, that doesn't protect it, but the Titan of Industry might die anyways to an exile removal spell. I'd rather put it somewhere I feel a little bit more useful. My opponent doesn't really do anything, they just attack, draw a card, play Legion's Landing. I'm a bit worried about a counterspell or removal spell, but I decide just to go for the Halana and Elena, which turns out to be really powerful. I don't see a need to wait. If they counterspell, I attack. I have so much power on board, it's okay. I can sit here having them counter my cards for a few turns. They just block their 4/4 with their 1/1, and all of a sudden they're down to 11. And I decide, okay, I'm gonna kill their Kaito plus their Phyrexian Missionary and go for the kill next turn. And even if they play something like a Wrath of God, I do have this Titania's Command to rebuild a little bit. Oh, I actually decided to kill the ninja token. I'm not exactly sure why. Oh, because I can only do X = 2, of course. Silly me. But yeah, my opponent just plays this Poppet Stitcher. I'm like, okay, man, you're so dead. And I just slam this Titania's Command and kill my opponent in fast fashion. For a nice first game, just showing how, you can't play these weird mid-range piles. Either these aggro decks will go under you, or I'll just go way over the top of you. And they are dead. Nothing they could really do about it. Yeah, I mean, drafted a good deck, had a good draw. Pretty nice for the first game. Okay. This hand, it's a little sketchy, but I can play Llanowar and use Mishra's Command. And I can use Llanowar and Mishra's Command to keep me in the early game. And Siege King Commander can really stabilize the board versus aggro on turn 4. My opponent takes a mulligan, and I'm just kind of randomly doing stuff because I'm bored. And my opponent goes turn 1 Dauntless Bodyguard, and I'm a little scared. Like, a curve out from a white aggro deck could definitely beat this hand. I draw Halana Land, I'm like, okay, that's a nice card to play on turn 3, but I need something for next turn. Though I do have this Forsaken Crossroads that I can untap and play the Mishra's Command. Opponent attacks, this is definitely no blocks for me. I need this to cast my expensive cards ahead of curve. And I draw Mountain. Totally fine. I decide to just play this Jetmir's Garden tapped. I don't want to burn this Mishra's Command on their Dauntless Bodyguard. No turn 2 play makes me believe they might have a good turn 3 or turn 4 play. And I'd rather use the Mishra's Command on something a little bit more valuable. But they play this Restoration of Eiganjo, and I'm like, okay, you put your pedals on the brakes while you were ahead, so that's fine by me. And now the decision is, Zhugen defends the temple or Halana Elena. Zhugen has the upside of getting a better Halana Elena turn next turn, but I'd rather just establish the Halana Elena, make the Llanowar bigger, and use the Halana Elena to pump a Goblin token from CGN Commander next turn. And then my opponent doesn't do anything with their Restoration of Eiganjo, which makes me believe that they don't have any more lands in their hand. Otherwise, it's pretty free to discard extra lands to Restoration. They don't. I'm not particularly scared right now. If they remove Halana Elena, okay, fine, good on them. It'll be slightly annoying, but I can deal with it. Instead, they decide to play just some mopey creatures. I'm like, okay, I'll go over the top of your random white 3-drops with my Halana Elena. Play CG Commander, which is actually pretty nice against this Benalia. If I'm getting scared of the pump, I can always just use Siege Gang to kill the 2 knights with the Sacrifice a Goblin, deal 2 damage ability the turn before. And I decide to put the Halana counters on the Goblin, and because their best removal spell is going towards the Siege Gang Commander. And I decide to get aggro. Like, I'm a little bit scared my opponent has something like I don't know. I was just scared, like, my opponent kept such a slow draw. I wanted to, try to just seal the deal. I get in for 5, and I'm thinking they might just take a bunch of damage next turn and die to Siege Gang Commander pings eventually. So their Architect of Restoration flips, which is actually pretty annoying because it stonewalls my entire board. But I do have this Mishra's Command if I want to use it here. And I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna History of Benalia trigger next turn, make their knights huge, so I kind of want to just take my turn to Siege Gang Commander, kill their board, or just kill their 2 knights. But that does leave me a little bit open to my Halana Elena dying, and then I just have no board, really. I mean, I do have these 2 3/3s, but they're not much. My opponent ropes out, looking at my cards. I think they're trying to kill my Halana Elena with their Inscription of Ruin, but of course they can't, because it's mana value 3 or less, not power. So they just kill my Llanowar Elves, which I'm totally fine with, and then they attack with their knight. I decide if I want to, I can trade just 1 goblin for the knight, so there's I'm not feeling under a ton of pressure. I'm actually winning this race by a lot because, you know, Helena Elena's busted. I'll say that again and again. So I'm just thinking, how do I want to play this? How do I want to make sure I win this game? So I am looking, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to start Siege Gang Commandering these Knight tokens. I decide, but then I decide against it because I'm like, if I kill the token, I play Topiary Stomper, I don't actually get anywhere. And I'm thinking, how do I push damage? How do I keep my foot on the pedal? And this is what I said, like, consider all your options. It may look weird to cast this Mishra's Command here. I don't need to. But it really, like, it puts me so far ahead to this play where I am able to kill their thing that's stonewalling my board. And then, actually, cool trick, I get to pump my Helena and Elena huge, which will actually accumulate into permanent +1/+1 counters on whatever creature I want. And now I'm thinking, okay, so they really need a Wrath here to just not completely die next turn to another haste creature and some Siege Gang Commander. Pings, I decided to put counters on Siege Gang Commander because there's a very real possibility that I end up sacrificing these goblins for damage. And I'm attacking with Helena Elena because I want to get the most benefit out of that pump. But I leave Siege Gang home to be able to stonewall these knights in case, like, I don't want to end up in a situation where, like, they remove my Siege Gang Commander, they remove my Helena Elena, they get in for 8, I'm down to 6. Like, that is one way they could turn around the game. So I'd rather just play it safe and keep Siege Gang at home for now. Their history, they do end up trump blocking with their Dauntless Bodyguard, keeping them at 15, which I'm pretty happy about, though it definitely could mean they have a Wrath. And their history banality triggers us off, but they don't actually have that good attacks. They're just like trading, even if they kill Siege Gang, they're just trading with one of my goblins. They don't get anywhere. And I know next turn I will be able to make a hasty Topiary Stomper, because I will get 7 lands, but they use Elspeth Conquer's Death to kill my Helena Elena. Okay, I'm thinking that's fine. I'm still pretty far ahead, and I just attack with Siege Gang and the Goblin. If they try to double block, I'll blow them out. I'll sacrifice one of my goblins to kill one of their knights. So it looks like they're just going to chump block, go to 12, and I'm content to just play Jugan Defends the Temple plus Topiary Stomper and try to kill them next turn. And so that's exactly what I do. I play this Forsaken Crossroads on green because I don't have a reason for 3 red. I max out at double red, so I'd rather just have more green sources as my main color. And it does feel nice to get all my non-creatures out of hand before the second chapter of Elspeth Conquers Death goes off. And here I'm thinking, okay, so they're eyeing my Topiary Stomper, they're looking at my Siege Gang, maybe they have a removal spell, but still, I'll just attack all, and they're just gonna die, man. Like, I'll put counters on my 2 goblins and just swing out. And actually here, funny enough, too much cruelty of Gix. I'm thinking, okay, this game is looking a bit sketchy because my opponent is going to use Elspeth Conquer's Death to get back my Siege Gang Commander and then just use the goblins to chump block and stuff. I attack with the monk here because if they take the greed block and block it, they go down to 6, 7, 8. They go down to 3, which just like puts them dead to either my Goblin Token or my Temporary Stomper. They take the pretty normal block of just, I'll block your Goblin, trade, and I'll only go to, wait, huh? 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'll only go to 2. Instead of, sorry, they were going to 1. I miscounted. And I keep this Tangled Florahedron in hand because my Jugen defends the temple will let me make it huge next turn. And at this moment only do I realize what Elspeth Conquers Death actually does, and I just am kind of like reading it with my cursor. So that was kind of stupid of me. My opponent plays Sarah Paragon, but sadly doesn't actually have anything to play. They can play their Hagra Mauling as a land, but not as a creature. And I'm thinking, okay, you're dead. I have 3 lethal attackers. You have 2 blockers. What you gonna do, man? And even if they don't die, I'll like Jugen make this 7/7 Tangled Florahedron. I draw Seeker's Chariot, which is a pretty busted draw. But I'm totally fine. And I just attack with all, and it turns out they don't actually have anything. I pass the damage, and they die. I do find it funny how people just kind of play out these board states when they know they're dead. But yeah, nice win. On to the next game. Alright, this hand is definitely interesting. I need to draw a land, but I have this Forsaken Crossroads to scry, and I do have this Cold Steelheart on turn 2 and to Settle the Wilds on turn 3. So as long as I'm able to scry to find a land for, to find like 1 or 2 lands in the next few turns, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. My opponent takes a while to decide, and pretty obviously I'm playing Forsaken Crossroads on green here. There's not much of a question. Yeah, it's just on green, and I immediately scry this 5-drop to the bottom. That's a double red, like uncastable. I'm super happy that my dual land was a Forsaken Crossroads. And I draw this Incubation Druid, which is a pretty fine draw. Like, okay, cool. If I don't find the lands, that can kind of act as a 2-mana land. I do play the Cold Steelheart first, though, because it cannot get removed as easily, and I want to guarantee I can play Settle the Wilds next turn. I do choose red for Cold Steelheart, thinking if I can now cast almost all of my spells, everything except for the double red cards. Of course, not the Tide of Industry, but by the time I get there, I'll have plenty of green lands. And I'm here, I was like, okay, I can play Settle the Wilds, but I'd rather just have this mana-efficient double spell turn, get the Scavenging Ooze down, which could definitely dominate the board if the game goes long. And my opponent plays Hedron Archive, and now I'm scared. And they also, they foretell, I'm really scared of this Alrund's Epiphany that I think is coming. And I can't decide, okay, am I going to get a 4-drop? Or am I going to play a landing at a 5-drop? And I think, okay, I think my 5-drop is better, because I know it's going to be Defiler of Vigor. But actually, I play the land, I play Settle the Wilds, and I get the Goblin card. But the 4-drops I'm thinking about, Seeker's Chariot, Halana Elena, but I don't really want Vivian here. Vivian doesn't do a ton. But then finally, what decides it for me is that I'm actually able to play my land, adapt with Incubation Druid, and then play the Settle the Wilds, allowing me to set up for Titan of Industry next turn. But I'm still scared. If my opponent plays something like Coma into Alrund's Epiphany Coma, but they show they don't have some big payoff yet, at least, because they attack with Elvish Mystic and then draw 2 cards with Charted Course. And then they do play Solemn Simulacrum, and they're like getting close to like Ulamog range. They currently have 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry, 8 mana. I was counting Solemn as a land. And I'm like, I kind of want a Titan of Industry kill this Hedron Archive, but they've shown they don't really have anything. The question is, I can go Rekindling Phoenix plus Titania's Command, or actually, I can go Siege Gang Commander plus Rekindling Phoenix. So there's a lot of good options here. I think I decided I'd rather send my Titania's Command to pump up all these goblins, and I'll play the Rekindling Phoenix and Siege Gang Commander this turn. Next turn I'll buff up, and I'll save this Titan of Industry to kill what's it called? I can't talk. To kill an artifact or enchantment, a problematic one. Maybe something like a Great Henge or a hard-casted Shark Typhoon. Both of which I think could definitely be in my opponent's what looks to be big teamer deck. Okay, my opponent uses, you line up the shot to draw a card. I'm just like, I'm confused about what my opponent has in their hand. Is it like counter spells and cantrips? Because they're just not doing anything at all right now. So, I'm just thinking, can you let me untap and play Titania's Command and win? But then my opponent plays big 6-mana Chandra, and I'm like, what took you so long, man? That wipes my board, and you get to have a chance in this game. But actually, I gotta get back this Rekindling Phoenix, and this Incubation Druid survives, so I'm gonna get to kill this Chandra. Now, Titania's Command is like okay here, but I think now I'd definitely rather play Titan of Industry, kill the Hedron Archive, make a 4/4, kill this Chandra, and say, I'm gonna win next turn with this Titania's Command. I decided against playing Shigeki because if my opponent, I don't know, plays another Wraths, just, if they deal with this board, I want to have this Shigeki to get back the Siege Gang Commander, get back the Titan of Industry, and just do it all over again, because I don't think my opponent will be able to deal with all my big top end twice. And then my opponent plays Timeless Witness, Get Back Chandra. And I just don't care at all, because they're just gonna die to this Titania's Command. They're just dead. I mean, is it just lethal? 9 minus 1 is 8. Well, I guess they get to block the tokens, so they take 9 plus 6 is 15 plus Incubation Druid. Yep, lethal. Lethal damage. And okay, they have something, and so I'm thinking, what could they have? I was thinking Lightning Bolt, but actually they have Unholy Heat with Delirium, so they're able to live here, which is pretty good for them. But they're so dead. I mean, there aren't, the Wraths in Temur are damage based, and you're not gonna have a 9 damage Red Sweeper. I don't think that's a thing. So yep, they concede because they know they're so dead. Yeah, cool game. On to the next one. This hand is great. Turn 1 Land Orioles is always, is pretty much always good, and the rest of the hand actually curves pretty well. The sequencing could be a little bit awkward, but I'll be fine. By turn 4, everything will be sorted out, and I'll have a bunch of 2 mana cards on the battlefield. And Mishra's Command as a little bit of interaction for if my opponent comes blazing out of the gates with something like mono red or mono white aggro. So my opponent keeps 7 after a long deliberation, which makes me think that their hand might not be amazing, but we'll see. I draw a land, which is pretty nice, because I do need a third land. I do want to hit a bunch of land drops with my deck to go big. My opponent plays like Ganja, and I was like, okay, white-black mid-range, but they don't play anything, and I'm wondering, okay, so what would they have that they wouldn't play? I'm thinking maybe a Patriarch's Humiliation. I draw Wolf Haven, which means I'm able to curve out really nice. I pay 2 to put the Haven on an untapped land, and I am able to then use that to play a 2-mana creature, which I decided to do as Galley Greeters, because my other creatures will trigger the Alliance ability on Galley Greeters, the creature fall ability, to get a little bit of value, maybe some treasures, maybe some +1/+1 counters, probably not life as I'm under no pressure. And my opponent's just rubbing me out, and I'm like, come on, man, I want to play the game. I don't want to just sit here. I want to play the land. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a good 3-drop, and yep, that is actually a pretty good 3-drop. Elspeth's Nightmare gets to kill my Galley Greeters, and then you're gonna take a non-creature. I'm like, do I want to just play out my non-creatures? But like, this Mishra's Command isn't doing anything here. Like, the main idea of Mishra's Command is to kill something, plus maybe do an extra thing. But that's fine, because I'll just play this Cold Steel Heart, and like I said, this command isn't doing a lot here. So maybe I'll just be happy playing out Elf plus Scoos. I get to use Scoos. I get to up Scoos to a 3/3. They get to take my Mishra's Command, which is a bit unfortunate. And now I'm thinking, okay, I need to top deck some action. I am a little bit down, like I'm down on resources. My opponent has more cards in hand than me, and they play a value card. I'm like, I'm probably not going to win this long game. So I'm just hoping to top deck something like a Titan of Industry, or maybe a Titania's Command, just something like that. So I draw land for this turn. I'm a little bit disappointed, but it's fine. I mean, sometimes you're going to draw ramp cards in your ramp deck. That's kind of how playing a ramp deck goes. And gosh, all I can think is my opponent's playing so slowly, man. Speed it up a little bit. So I'm going to skip a little bit through this game because it's just a lot of mid-range grind, and I would like to try to showcase all of the games in my run, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Alright, so I found myself in a spot where I've top decked a few lanes in a row, and then I played the Saga, what's it called? Jugan defends the temple. But then my opponent Day of Judgments me, which is not something I expect, and is a little bit annoying because I'm like, okay, I finally have a grip on this game. I have these 2 kind of large creatures, but nope, it's all gone, which I'm a little bit surprised about because my opponent looks to be playing kind of like this creature deck, but it looks like my opponent probably kept their hand just as I'm going to use Wrath of God to get as much value as I possibly can. I top deck a land, and I'm thinking this is not good. Though I do see that I have this Wolfula Haven, which I can then sack, use Jugan defends the temple to make it into a big creature. And for that reason, I play out my mountain so that if I draw another land, the following turn, I can, like, what's it called? I can, I can play it and pump the Wolfhaven bigger. My opponent plays a Blade Splicer, which is a bit annoying. They're gonna flood the board. And this Mutavault has First Strike, which is kind of funny. Not often that it comes up that Mutavault is all creature types in Cube. And I tried another land, so I'm feeling like, okay, I guess I made the right call. I played that lane the turn before. I'll play out this one, and I'm going to make myself a... what is this? 1, 2... I'm going to make myself a 5/5? Yeah, I mean, this board state is really not the best for me. Like, my opponent has 2 cards in hand, and I think they're probably good, because at least one of them they've been holding up the entire game. And I'm just hoping I can draw creatures to take advantage of this Remnant of the Rising Star, and just ride it to victory. My opponent starts roping like usual. This is why I skipped ahead in this game. I didn't want you guys to have to watch this for 10 turns. But eventually they finally decide to use their March of Otherworldly Light on my token, which surprises me because they had it last turn. I feel like they should have used it on my Jugen Defends the Temple, because I definitely do think that's much, much more dangerous than a little Wolfhaven token, which would have only been a 2/2 if they had killed my Jugen Defends the Temple the turn before. But then they play this Lauren, which I guess makes sense. They have a way to kill the Remnant of the Rising Star. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, I'm actually taking a bunch of damage here. I'm taking 6. I'm going to 12. This is a 3-turn clock. I really need to draw some... I need to draw something. I need to draw something that will get me back into this game. I'm thinking Titania's Command, Titania's Command or Titan of Industry, please. Which I do think both of those get me back in this game. And I draw the Titan of Industry, and I'm excited. But then I realize, wait, my life total is going really low here. I'm going to 4. And I'm scared that I'm just gonna die even with this Titan of Industry. Especially if my opponent has like a removal spell or something. I'm definitely dead. But my opponent attacks me to 4 and doesn't really do anything else with their turn. And I'm thinking, okay, what am I doing with this Titan of Industry? How am I getting out of this? And I go, well, I know I have to play this, and I'm deciding, okay, I have 3 options. I'm only considering 3 of these. Rhino, 5 life, destroy an artifact or enchantment. My opponent makes me draw this card, and I'm thinking, I just need to survive. I'm thinking, okay, if I survive, I get to slay this Titania's Command, and I'll have a big creature. And I'll have 2 more big creatures to block. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna gain life, and I think I'd rather have this 4/4 instead of killing the Golem, just because, like, basically it stonewalls the Golem still, and I just get to keep around a 4/4. And at the time, I do think this was probably the correct choice, though creating the 4/4 instead of killing the token does end up costing me the game. You'll see in a second. So my opponent untaps, and I'm surprised they're using Lauren here. I guess they thought, uh-oh, I need to beat this Titan of Industry. And I guess probably if they find a removal spell, I'm still dead here, so... maybe it was correct. It's weird to me for someone to actually use Lauren's draw ability. And yep, here they have it, the Blood Chief's Thirst. I'm like, uh-oh, I might be dying here. But I'm like, but I still think I'm pretty in this game. You get to use the Rhino token to block the Golem, and I'll take 5, go down to 4, but then I get to use Titania's Command to make some blockers, and I think I stabilize. So my opponent anyways move out, okay, and I'm thinking, okay, I guess they are just putting me to 4. Maybe they have something like a Blood Artist to drain me out. But it turns out they actually have basically a black burn spell, Sap Vitality, to kill my Rhino without their Golem dying. And this is where the shift of the game turns. Even by playing, I can't play the Titania's Command. I'm not like immediately dead, but I go to 1. And I'm just like, I don't think I can go to 1. And I realize, actually, Titania's Command making 2/2/2s is almost as good. It's not as good, but it's almost as good. And I can use the unknown ability on it that exiles a player's graveyard and then gain life equal to the number of cards in their graveyard to make 2/2/2s and gain 7 life, go back up to 11. Hoping to use this Defiler of Vigor to fully stabilize me on the following turn. But it's sketchy. Like, at this point, I am thinking, again, if they have a removal spell, I'm probably gonna die. Though putting me up to 11 makes me feel safe. I'm at more life than after I played the Titan of Industry. Except when I have a 2/2 instead of 11 power. I'm thinking, gosh, maybe I should have played around like a +1/+1 or like 3 damage from the Sap Vitality. But I think I just had to try and do that. I didn't really have a lot of room for leeway. My opponent uses their Lauren again, and I draw land, which I'm like, okay. If next turn I draw like just a random 2-drop with I can use that with the Defiler of Vigor to have again 2 more blockers. But my opponent just keeps playing out creatures, and I'm seeing this game slip away from me. Adeline is just so scary, and this Palladium Mirror is just huge from the Sap Vitality. My opponent doesn't animate Mutavault, which is a little bit weird to me. Here I decide to block the 2 1/1s because I'm thinking I just need to pump these creatures with Defiler of Vigor. Maybe I can play Defiler of Vigor, play a 2-drop green creature, and then block some. Instead of here I draw Vivian on the Hunt, and then, yeah, this game is now over. I can use Vivian to make a 4/4, try and block Adeline, try and use the bears to block Palladium Mirror and Lauren, but I am just dead to the Mutavault, so I realize I have to chump block the Golem, and there's no real way of getting out of this now. Yeah, I mean, I'm chump blocking, I'm just losing all my creatures. Even though I get to trade a little bit, like my opponent just is using Lauren to continually play 2 spells every turn, a creature plus a removal spell, 2 creatures, while I'm just slamming 1, 5, or 6 drop every turn, which definitely shows why you want to keep your curve low. You need to be able to play multiple cards every turn. And my opponent finds this Alias Elcor, and I'm now dead on board. I can block, but my blocks made me go to 1 even when I'm minimizing as much damage as possible. And I do have to kill at least one of my opponent's creatures, because I do have to block this Palladium Mirror. And so I am dead, and I'm also just extra dead, just like to this Adeline token. So that's that. That's first loss. I'm like, okay, gotta rally it up and win the next few. And I can't decide whether to do Smiley or Frowny. I think now I would pick Smile, because I think the game was actually very fun and interesting and close, and had a lot of counterplay to it. But then I was a little bit annoyed that I had taken a loss. I see this hand and I'm thinking, wow, it's great. Turn 1 Llanowar, turn 2 ramp card, and hopefully turn 3 Siege Gang Commander, and to turn 4 Titania's Command. This curve is awesome. Please don't use a 1 mana removal spell on my Llanowar opponent. You know you don't want to. You don't want to. And they don't want to, so they don't. They play an Ashnod instead. I draw Jetmir's Garden. I know I'm playing this Cold Steelheart on red to play the Siege Gang Commander. And I do decide to play this Jetmir's Garden. Maybe I should have played Forsaken Crossroads to scry, but I'd rather make sure to have the double red and be able to put the Forsaken Crossroads on green. My opponent uses Patriarch's Humiliation to kill my elf, which is a bit frustrating because that means I don't get to slay my Siege Gang Commander this turn, but I'll be able to play it in the future. This Scavenging Ooze is definitely an interesting choice for it's interesting. I think maybe I would put it on the bottom looking back, but all I can think. But actually, honestly, I think it's probably the correct play to leave on top. Looks like my opponent is playing this like kind of small ball creature, white-black deck, and I just need some more and I just need some creatures to gum up the board so I don't die to this like revealing eye. They're going to get to take either my Titania's Command and Siege Gang Commander, so I need a little bit more gas. And Scavenging Ooze is kind of gas, kind of not, but it's good enough for me here. And again, I'm going to skip through this game a little bit to try to keep the video on the shorter side. So, I end up in the situation where I play Siege Gang Commander. In the following turn, I play a Mishra's Foundry. My opponent plays a Skyclave Apparition for my Scavenging Ooze, but it's fine. I'm way ahead on board, and they play Shieldred, but it's too little, too late. They were able to stabilize the ground, but I'm just going to use Siege Gang Commander to sack all 3 of my goblins and get them dead. The game, yeah, I mean, this is how the mid-range matchups are going to go. You'll stumble a little bit in the early game as they have more cheap cards, but eventually you'll overpower them with powerful 4 and 5 mana cards. And now I'm 4-1. And man, these games have been long. It's already been a little over an hour, and I'm only 4-1. I'm hoping maybe to get a few quick wins because I just want to end this draft. Get some nice quick wins. Like I said, I don't know, I keep repeating myself. This hand, it's a bit disappointing to get a play turn 1 Llanowar, but I have the Tangled Florahedron as a green land, and I have a bunch of good ramp with some good top ends, so it's definitely a keep. Turn 2, as of right now, I plan to just play Wolfwillow Haven. The following turn, I can play Topiary Stomper plus Llanowar. And my opponent is on red aggro, and I'm a bit scared. They play duel into, like, they have perfect mana, and they play a bloodthirsty adversary. And I'm thinking, uh-oh. I'm not really affecting the board. Like I said, you can get punished for just playing, like, ramp card into Settle the Wilds ramp card and just get too far behind on board. But here, I do still play this Topiary Stomper. I'm thinking, I need to save this Voracious Hydra for their 4-drop. Like, I have them on, like, Blade Historian or something, because, their start was, like, they top-decked this Monastery Swiftspear probably this turn or last turn, so they probably kept Bloodthirsty Adversary plus powerful 4-drop, and I need to use this Voracious Hydra to kill the powerful 4-drop to keep me in this game. Opponent plays Fabled Passage, so all rare lands, and I'm like, uh-oh, I really am worried about this Blade Historian. Instead, they play something pretty much as good, Torbren. A little bit worse at attacking, but same amount of damage, and it's all the same against me. I consider chump blocking with Llanowar Elves. I don't end up doing it, because I'm thinking I need to chump block something bigger, or I just need to make this Voracious Hydra one bigger. But looking back, I probably should have chump blocked here, to preserve my life total. Like chump blocking without Llanowar Elves there would have gained me 4 life. But it's fine. And I also think that this Forsaken Crossroads enters tapped, which is because I have because of the lane disparity, but I realized I had played Topiary Stomper to make it so it looks like I'm on the play. So this Crossroads actually enters untapped. My opponent plays Phoenix Chicks, and I'm like, uh-oh, I might be taking a lot of damage here. My opponent used Obliterating Bolt plus Strangle on my Voracious Hydra. And I'm full panic mode. I decide I definitely need to Llanowar Elves chump block here, go to 5. And I almost play this Defiler Vigor, but first I count the amount of lands that I have, and then I realize, wait, this Settle the Wilds gets Titan of Industry. And I'm thinking, okay, I need to survive to play this Titan of Industry. And if I do, I think I can win this game. And I realize, wait, I'm on the draw? I don't actually realize I'm on the draw. I think the card is bugged or something. I now realize I had played the Topiary Stomper and they'd missed their land draw. But I get the 7th land out. Topiary Stomper turns into a creature. I can use Vivian to make Topiary Stomper kill this bloodthirsty adversary to keep the board slim. And now if my opponent just plays some, doesn't have a burn spell or something this turn, I can use Titan of Industry to gain 5 and hopefully stabilize. They play a land, and they play CJ Commander, and I'm scared. I'm thinking, uh-oh, that might kill me eventually. They use Phoenix Chick to kill my Vivian, but I get to use Titan of Industry to stop all attacks. It does have reach, so I'm able to stop the blocks. I'm able to stop the attacks from Phoenix Chick, and I go up to 10, so I'm relatively safe, even if they, for at least this turn, even if they use Siege Gang. So this is it's scary. I decided to first attack with Topiary Stomper. I'm definitely happy to trade with Swift Spear and 2 Goblins. Like that's gaining me 4 life, and I do think I need to kill my opponent, because I probably, even with gaining this 5 life, I'm going down to 4. I will probably die eventually. So this Topiary Stomper having Vigilance is huge here, letting me put my opponent to 12, which will potentially force some blocks in sequential turns. Especially this with this Defiler of Vigor, I'm thinking if I draw a creature, I can pump my team. And then I draw Scavenge Ooze, which is like, might just be the best draw in my deck. It gains me some life, and it triggers the Defiler. Like, it's so nice. It means I'm like pretty securely in, like, I'm probably gonna, like, I'm pretty securely stabilized. I just need to not die to whatever nonsense my opponent plays. I do decide to attack with Titan pre-combat here. I mean, pre-Defiler here. I don't want to give them the information of me gaining life. I want them to play as if I'm at 10. And thumb note, not blocking Titan means playing Defiler is, like, Defiler next turn is definitely going to require some blocks from the opponent. Along with, and Defiler has Trample along with Titan of Industry. I definitely don't want to play Phyrexian here. I want to keep my life total as high as possible. And I do decide to not gain life now, because I don't want my opponent to be able to just Siege Gang Commander, kill my thing in response. My opponent does get to attack with Phoenix Chick now, though, because I tapped down my Reach blocker, but that's okay. I'm definitely, like, I'm closer to killing my opponent than my opponent is to killing me. And there are, like, not a lot of cards that would kill me from 10 life. Like, I'm on 10. Even if they kill my Scavenging Ooze, I get the 2 life gains no matter what. So before this damage goes through, I decide to gain my life, just so my opponent can't do anything tricky, and get me with a 3 damage burn spell, because I go down to 7, and my opponent could have 7 damage worth of burn with Siege Gang Commander. So I just wanted to play it safe. Maybe if they had drawn like a 4 damage burn spell at instant speed, they would have been able to get me, but I just am able to attack all and kill my opponent here. It takes me a while to figure out that they are just dead, but I see now, like, they have to chump block 3 things, and then they also have to block a bajillion damage worth of trample damage. And then I get worried. I'm like, uh-oh, that is a lot more power and toughness than I expected. That's plus 7 power and toughness. That does just jump in front of the Defiler. But actually, they need 5. They need their new 7 toughness to go in front of the Defiler. They need 3 chump blockers for my 5 power things, and then Siege Gang goes in front of Titan of Industry, and they are still dead at -1. So even with their pretty good top deck, I am still able to get the job done, kill them before they're able to use all these goblins to just kill me, because this is 10 damage worth of goblins, but they do need time to sack them. This is why I was attacking. This is why I wanted to try to close the game. I didn't want to give my opponent the chance to top deck their way out of this pretty winning situation for me.